Adam. Yes, I can hear you. Happy Monday. How's this week for you, music wise? I heard your last post, by the way. And first of all, good job for it. Secondly, so I hear that you have a guitar thing going on, and then you also played another sound. It was a different preset, right? When you had the backing track. Yes, we are. I just began the stream just moments before you joined it, and I was gonna end it, but then I realized this is an experience, and so it's getting started, and you were joining at the same time, and so here we are, and it's a show. It must go on. Hmm. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Beautiful cover. Look. Well, my week was actually a great one. I'm very happy with the results and the hard work I put in. I pushed myself this week, and I actually did push myself and did the work to do that and to feel proud of it and relax and just kind of let go a little bit of all this anxiety I had. So I feel like music for me is a way to heal and to process, and I feel like it is kind of the same thing for a lot of people, and people who listen, people who want to create. There's a feeling of there's a specific feeling that we're aiming for, and it speaks of our unique journey, our unique style, our unique voice, um, uniqueness, and it's about promoting that uniqueness and that individuality to just create on the spot and be yourself, right? As simple as it sounds, and it is, a lot of people find it really hard to be themselves creatively, and you hear a lot of pop artists, going through that work, and then during interviews you see their real selves talking, and about the fact that they weren't really proud or satisfied, even though they were selling records and millions of billions of dollars and all these things. It wasn't enough somehow for them because they weren't tapped into to that their own channeling, their own spontaneity. As weird as it was for the record labels and the people they had to deal with, to kind of or the beliefs that they had to believe that that's the way you're gonna succeed. Um, so when you want to be a producer, when you want to follow the route of becoming, like, you have to you're gonna hit a lot of walls, and you're gonna have to, because there's a lot of programming, and to be kind of realized, self-actualized through pushing the boundaries, pushing for your dreams, is another way to put it. So the farther you go, the more you realize there is to go. Like, so there's a sense of humility there too. And like, I've done so many projects in my life, but every time I open a new project, it's that feeling again, that blank canvas, that limitless possibilities, and there's a vulnerability just looking at that blank canvas through my eyes today. Who I am, who I am is really being defined by this moment as I open my project, kind of thing. So yeah, so I feel like this week so what I did was I was very anxious about. I know there's a lot of things going on in the world to be anxious about, but my life, like my musically, it was about what to post on which channel, and where to be, which kind of self, which personality, which side of me do people want where. And it was there, that anxiety. It was always there when I was posting stories or choosing my post for the last years, and my first years starting doing this and wanting to share my music on social media with other people. It was never easy since the beginning. It took me a while before I really started posting things. A lot of my friends knew a lot about my skills and talked about me. I was kind of famous in my country, and on TV, I went on TV and stuff, but I didn't really do social media at that time. Felt like I was ready. I thought that maybe, but then at the same time, that's not true, because there's another layer where I started having my Instagram page. Even though on YouTube I wasn't doing much, I was doing stuff on Instagram because it was easy to quickly create stuff. So I was just making stories and joking and just, like, blowing off steam, like, just not caring, right? And it attracted a lot of viewers, weirdly enough. And those viewers are the people who support me today for my music. A lot of them are my friends and family from not before, but like when I used to be in Lebanon. So when I moved to the States 4 years ago, it was the first time I was on my own, and I didn't have all this support system. The only way I could stay connected was through internet, through Instagram. And even though on Instagram I was kind of putting on a mask, like, there were things about me that I didn't want people to know. I couldn't have people know. Not that I didn't want, I just couldn't. And then I wanted to work on being able to share those things and find ways to do it, if not directly, maybe indirectly, maybe through a different way, like maybe just tapping into that feeling and creating music that people who have that same feeling will hear and know that there's a real authenticity there. And yeah, that's why also, like, I keep on going. I guess I see myself as an artist, but also as a teacher and a student. And it's all about just the craft, the practice, and we recognize each other by how much we love that. We love exploring the different ways to learn what each person knows, and some people get caught up in what is the right thing to know, and from who to follow, and all these things. Follow your heart, follow your heart, but capture data and be structured, and you're gonna hear same messages from successful people, and it's all about that hard work that you can't get there without really wanting it and putting all your efforts in it. A lot of people, everybody, like we all get caught up in bullshit and other people's bullshit, and we think we need to save the world because we have some magical gifts, and people put their problems on us. We're good listeners, we're artists, we can listen to people's problem, we can make it a fantasy, we can like, you know, validate whoever's emotion whatever way they want to feel, because we know in that realm there is no right and wrong, there is no real and not real, everything's possible. And so that's my spiel, I guess. Yeah, I just went live on Instagram this week, and it was just, oh, it was just so fresh, refreshing, and I was engaging with my fans, my followers, which most of them I know, but then some of them I don't even know. They jump in and they start asking questions. They start telling me that they follow me. And on Instagram, like keeping people's attention is a huge thing, because people just are always like 2 seconds on one thing. Like it's always scrolling, so much competition. So people actually stayed on my live stream for more than 20 minutes. That was a miracle for me. And they were engaging with each other and all that stuff. So that's big for me. That's big. So it was a good week. And I also feel like musically my mind is expanding in weird ways. But I'm also frustrated by all these chord progression that I can't untangle myself with. Like they just keep coming back. I'm trying to really forget about them. We're trying to do something different, and I'm trying to learn jazz and all these different scales and stuff. But the more I learn, the more I find myself playing the same thing. It's just so yeah. That's just that's me. So hold on. I think that I just want to make sure that the sound from your end is getting through OBS, and that's what I'm thinking about right now. Um, I don't know if people are in this. Let me know if you can hear Adam or not, because I have a feeling that it's not the case. If that's not the case, it's not the end of the world, because we are recording this Zoom call. So worst case scenario, I would repost the whole live stream through the Zoom call, because it's being recorded there as well. But yeah, let's so if I yeah, so your audio is coming out of my Scarlett 8i6. If I set it to OBS instead, which is a multiple output, try talking now.
Sure thing. If I
Okay.
talk now, can people
Yeah.
hear me?
Yeah,
Can
I
you
think
hear me?
this is good. Yeah. Now it's good.
Okay,
Oh man.
sweet.
No worries. No worries. Well,
All
you
good.
you talked
All good.
50%, I
Oh,
talked
are
50%.
you kidding? We're just at the beginning. Nobody missed anything. We're literally just getting started. Share your screen and hop over to Notion. The way that I would recap, if you scroll down on Notion on tonight's board, go to the bottom, 18, yeah, right there.
Nice.
Hop down to the bottom. I started taking notes at the very bottom. So my recap would be, stumble. I thought about music and joy. That's Adam's answer. But then Alex's answer, the way I would recap your answer, it made me think of this beautiful quote that this is one of those quotes that I just carry with me. I just really love it. It's by Rumi. And the quote is, you are not but a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a single drop, in a single drop of water. I can type that in there so that people can read it or we can include it later. But just everything you shared there, you know, the idea that it sort of all kind of is coming together at once and you've just got a lot on your mind, being the entire ocean inside of a single drop of water. It sounds kind of like what you're having here at the beginning of the year. I heard that quote this week. And again, it's a quote that I've carried with me for a while. But as you were talking there, I was like, oh man, Alex is the entire ocean in a single drop of water right now, which is not a bad place to be, man. So good answer that you gave.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, it does. Rumi is one of the best writers, right? It's like,
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure, my man. Let me type that quote into Notion so people can see it. There we go. We'll have to talk about that quote later too, but it's a slamming great start to our evening. For those of you who are just joining us, tonight is part two. Alex, I'm going to scroll up here on Notion and just remind everyone that last week, Alex broke down for us this idea that if we want to create a track and if we're focused on creating a single track, he's got this 4-part method of thinking first, just the vision for where you're headed, getting everything set and ready to go. Second part, recording, right? Capturing some of the sounds and getting it in motion in front of you in Ableton. Part 3, beginning to piece that together with transitions, mixing, automating, digging in on massaging those sounds. And then part 4, really finishing it out and mixing it and mastering it. And so I captured in Notion here, I really just took the notes from last week's Notion and I dropped them in and I added a few little commentary things for myself. I don't know if you've had a chance to scroll through and see some of those things for myself. I'm happy to talk about those things, but I think the more exciting thing for me, as well as most likely for anybody who's listening, is for you to talk a little bit about picking up the baton where you left off last week on creating this track and what you would be doing next. I'm happy to share or answer questions about what I'm up to over here. But was that a fair recap? Anything you would add before you dive right in?
yeah, no, that's good, and yeah, I encourage all the viewers to write long comments, and I answer to all comments, and I see them all, and you can see on my videos, even when I have 600 comments, none of them goes uncommented. So it means the world to me when people engage, and you know, they take that step, because like when I engage on people's stuff, like it kind of means, yeah, I'm in, and I'm taking action of this, and that means, you know, it means that it's actionable. And so that's what I want this to be. I want this to be something that people can take action from and they can watch. And, you know, we're going at a pace that is human, you know, because I don't see myself as completely human when I work. Like, my brain is not tuned to the frequency that necessarily makes sense yet. But if I'm working with someone else, then together we create an interaction that I feel becomes more normal and more controlled. And so I get to be uh, at the same time more structured, and at the same time more flowy, more fluid. So yeah, I mean, yeah, everything you said, like, I think I wouldn't really add much other than, yeah, great. So now that you have your part one, uh, yeah, so you probably have a vision. You have you have your stuff set up, your controllers, and everything's working fine. Your files are there. You have a reference track. That's what we did last time. We imported a reference track from YouTube, downloading. Oh, look at that! That was my first technical issue. That was my APC 40. My bad. The APC 40 is pretty old now, and it changes the. There's the, I don't know if it's the fader, the slider, the internal mechanism gets triggered by dust or something, and it changes the volumes of tracks, and that's what it just did. It was
What is the APC 40? What is that? Is that a keyboard or what is that?
this guy.
Oh, okay. Snap. Ooh, look at that.
So when it's on, it has to be detected. Okay. All right. So this is my fader here, and it's
Mm-hmm.
in control of my voice track. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
But when I lower it to the bottom, and then when I put it up, you see how it still moves even though I'm not touching it. And when I go, yeah, it's kind of unpredictable, so I can't really rely on this anymore. But I'm attached to it, and right now I'm not really thinking about getting new controllers. I'm more interested in helping people, and like waiting for when I'll deserve a new controller. You know what I mean? Like when I'll really need it, and like maybe like because it's actually very easy for me to get set up and put on a show. Like I just really at this point just need a keyboard and a computer, and but I could add more stuff, and I used to do that. It was really fun and gets deep. But lately, it's been really raw for me. It's been really just playing the piano is enough. It gets it out of my system for an hour. Now, I work on projects with people, and I ghost produce and stuff. And I also have my own projects that I want to produce when the time is right. But right now, I'm focusing on documenting stuff and showing people the real deal. And then later, I'll get more creative. Maybe next year or something, I'll be way more creative. And that way, I've had already established my methods and my practice, and I've had taught a few people, and maybe built a small group of people, a community, and we can all share our work and help each other, collaborate, do all kinds of fun stuff, and learn and create good content out of that exchange. Capturing those moments. It's like there's a lot of great moments that happen between one-on-one people, but some people need to watch this. So like I'm here, I'm like let's put stuff that happened like this somewhere, and that's where it is. Let's talk about our struggles with procrastination, for example. Like what does that have to do with Ableton and how to use Ableton? It's like everybody complains about how like which DAW is the simplest and the best, and like there's always problems you can find in DAWs, DAWs, and always like, oh, you should use this DAW. Oh my god, I shouldn't have started working on this DAW for 2 years, and now I realize I have to unlearn everything I know for that new DAW. DAWs are tools, but music production is a concept, and what I want people to learn is music production, and the tool is a tool to learn that. And if you don't know how to use the tool, you're not gonna be able to practice music production. So the tool is really essential. It's like your body, kind of deal. Like you can't think if your body is not functioning properly, or else it's all you're thinking about. It's like my body hurts. I need food. I need to drink. That's the same thing with your gear. Like right now, I really felt debilitated. I couldn't talk. Like my my controller was removing my sound. I was suffering, but I fixed it. Because I have the will, I have the tools, the knowledge. I'm healing myself. It's getting pretty esoteric, but yeah, it's a body. It's a machine. It's a system, and the more you use it, the more it becomes second nature, and you have to practice. And everybody has his own way of learning and teaching, and I try to map myself to all these different ways at the same time, so that I'm answering to many different perspectives at the same time in a way that it makes sense. And you're actually the perfect student for me, because you make things you make things very, very vocal and organized, and your way of keeping track and keeping a pace. Like I can get really, really far, and like as everybody knows already, like my mind and yours too. But somehow when we're together, like we keep each other on the same track, and we can get started on something and then finish it, and know that as long as we both show up and we keep on doing this, it's gonna arrive at some point somewhere. And so we're going with a flow here. We have some organization, and it is an experience, and at the same time we're both ready for it to go in any direction. But we hope that it's gonna go in the direction that we're aiming for. Is that making sense?
I follow. You know, I'm finally logged in over here. A few minutes ago, as you were chatting, I grabbed my laptop and I got logged in on the YouTube stream so that I can try and watch comments, which, yeah. So there I am.
Yeah, so
Interesting.
it seems like we don't have comments, but we have two viewers. And last time I remember the comments weren't showing for everybody. And if that's
You're right.
happening right now for anybody who's trying to comment and is not happening, um, maybe if you can try to go to my Insta and sending me a DM for now, that would solve the problem, and let me know that you're trying to comment, because that's something I'm trying to solve. And I don't know why YouTube does that. It says here, welcome to live chat. Remember to guard your privacy and abide by your community guidelines. La la la. Oh, and that's you, Adam Lemon here, trying to see if comments will work. It works. Anybody here?
Mm-hmm. We'll see. I'm up. You know, I've got it here. Just as Alex mentioned earlier, it's kind of fun. You know, one of the things I'm most excited about is the fact that I do feel like 3 or 4 months from now, I feel like we're going to be able to put on a really fun show every time we host a session. And I feel like we can do that already right now. But I think what I'm getting at is, in order to get to that point, to 3 or 4 months from now, we kind of have to just iron it out and just start doing it, right? So it's part of what we're doing. You know, Alex had made the point that we could try to get all organized and get everything prepared before we actually start streaming, or we could just start streaming, which I appreciated that nudge. So we are figuring it out a bit on the fly, but it's fun. You know, on YouTube, I have watched so many different artists get into streaming or hosting sessions like this, conversations, uh, teaching online, hosting different learning sessions, etc. So it's awesome. I've seen it, but to finally be in the chair and hosting one and trying to figure out comments, I kind of envision that a few weeks from now, I'll have my laptop sorted out. One of the things I notice, Alex, is as I'm watching the stream, I notice you've got two different camera angles, which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I'm
so
using my
little things like that.
yep.
We'll get better. We'll get better at all that stuff. But in the meantime, we're here, and I've got comments there. We'll have to see. I don't see anybody chatting back, so I'll keep my eye on it. But everything that you said made a lot of sense to me. And I think, again, coming right back to what, remind anybody who's watching this recording later on, we did part one. We want to see if we can do part two today. 1 week from now, do part three. And then the last week of February, do part four. And the question is, within those 4 parts, can we wrap it up where we've actually created a track? I'll be creating a track on my side, which will be something. It'll be some fun noise. And then obviously Alex in the driver's seat here of putting everything in Ableton in front of us. I don't want to digress too far off of the reference track and everything that you showed last week. People can go back and watch that video. One quick thing that's kind of interesting for me on the reference track, as I am working on this same stuff, is that I did identify a handful of tracks that I would look at and I would say, okay, for what I'm going to create, again, Adam Lemon creating my own track, Alex is working on a track on his screen. but I don't really intend for the track that I create to map or really even sound like the reference tracks that I found. And so one of my questions for you, Alex, is, albeit very useful and interesting to have a reference track as a producer from where you sit, you don't always have a reference track, do you?
No, no, mostly no. I only have reference track when I'm working for someone who is looking for a specific result, which is all the
Yeah.
work that I do. I always have, like, people always know what they want. They don't just come to me, oh, create a piece. Like, maybe they'll tell me, oh, this is for a scene in a movie, or this is a
Yeah.
game, but this is the general vibe. I want something 80s. I want something retro, something synth wave, lots of bass,
Synthwave.
predictable, catchy.
Synthwave is something I'm going to be coming back to. I was about a year before the pandemic hit, so March of 2019. I had been invited to a really cool party where there were just a ton of amazing artists of all sorts there. And I was sitting around a campfire, and I mentioned to this new friend of mine at the campfire, I said, "Oh, I've been listening to a lot of synthwave." And she looked at me and she said, "Oh my gosh, my husband is Laserhawk." And I knew exactly who that was. And I was like, "What? What are you talking about?" She was like, "Yeah, my husband is Laserhawk. He's here in Austin and he makes synthwave music. That's what he does." Oh, dude, I absolutely flipped out. I felt like, it's one of those moments where you feel like you're rubbing elbows with somebody really special. So I've met Laserhawk's wife, and I want to come back to synthwave. But back to the reference track for a moment. The reason I just throw that comment out there is, for the track that I'm creating, the reference track, I'm not trying to skip a step, but the reference track I think will be less of a focus for me. Again, if anybody wants to go back and watch what Alex showed last week, you can go check it out, right? He shows dropping a reference track in, he shows thinking about the BPM, and making sure that if you really are going to work alongside of that reference track, making sure that you're understanding how that lines up. Um, but yeah, I think for me, I would almost not even call my inspiration pieces reference tracks. I think I would almost call them inspiration tracks, right? For example, uh, it's a, I am not a professional producer, but just this week, thinking about this project, I listened to these inspiration tracks a couple of times, just walking around my neighborhood, just on my walk, put in my headphones, listen to those. And it definitely gave me a spice of inspiration, of kind of like, oh yeah, I could do this and then I could do that. And oh, what are they doing with the drum track next? And just beginning to listen to that music a little bit differently than I was before, knowing I want to create something that sounds really cool. Like what? Like this. So anyway, so I didn't mean to digress, Alex. I know we want to move on, but that was an interesting observation on my part this last week.
No, that was very relevant. Yay. So looks like the comments aren't having an issue because I just commented from my other channel and I see it. So it's fine if you guys aren't ready to comment yet. I see there are viewers and that's awesome. And so let's keep on going. All right, today we're gonna compose. So I'm just gonna get straight into that. I was listening to what I came up with last time on the Omnisphere, and I thought it was really actually magical and healing and perfect. We just need to use it, find a way to make it loopable and repeatable, and maybe create it, like a progression, and kind of make it evolve into something and get into a drop, or maybe introduce it at some point later on, but having it being the main thing or driving the main thing. But it's the harmony. It's for me, it's the most important thing, the harmony, because the harmony will define the bass, and make it will give the constraints for melodies to happen. And like, melodies can happen before harmony and then you can harmonize them, or you can start with harmony and then feel the melody and speak it. You know what I mean? Like, you can just speak that melody, But if you don't have the harmony, or if you don't know what harmony you mean by it, then anybody can come and add some random chords to it, and it will somewhat work. But what was your how do you nail down on that feeling? So let's see what I have here. Yeah. Yeah, I think at the end it goes into not really cool. Um Yeah, the problem with that part was that it was going somewhere, but then this chord right here made it not that cool. I didn't like where it went. But if there's a place where it's good as it is that can be looped, I think it's this. Yeah, what did you think?
So I like how before you started playing music, you explained that part of what you're looking for is the landscape, the harmony, the piece that falls behind it. It surprises me that you mention it's where you want to start. This is awesome. It's fantastic. I think, if I think of harmony, beat, and melody, and you can argue that there's all kinds of other things to talk about as well, but these three pieces, right? Harmony, beat, and melody. I think if that's the harmony you're going to go with, if those are the chords, I would, for me, and again, struggling noob here, where I do have, by the way, for people watching, I do have quite a bit of musical background. I have a fair amount of music theory. I just don't have a lot of experience being hands on keys creating the music. So for me, I would need to look at what those chords are and like almost write down in front of me, like, okay, in bar one or measure one or chord one is this, like, here's the chord, here's what notes it includes, here's what the next one is, here's what the next one is. My next question for you, to you asking me, what do I think of this, is, are you listening right now to the way that you played it and wanting that to be the backdrop? Or are you listening right now and you're hearing those chords and you're hearing from one chord to the next chord and you like that movement? Because if you like that movement, but you're not married to the long drawn out length, my curiosity is, what happens if you take those same chords, keep the same chords, but add a completely different rhythm. I'm thinking out loud, Alex. I'm just curious. You don't have to do anything with what I just said, but you asked me what I think, and that's some of what I just shared is kind of where my brain is going, or where I'm kind of tinkering. Because again, I'm for those of you who don't know me, I'm primarily a guitar player. I do play other instruments as well, and I do know enough about the keys to know what chords look like and how to make chords, or how to understand what I'm seeing on the piano roll here on the MIDI layout that Alex has got in front of us. It makes sense to me. I would just need to hone in on what are those things, especially if I was going to try and add a guitar part to this for me personally. I have to like look at those
chords. Sorry about that. I hate when it does
fine.
this. It's the sustain pedal again. Always,
Okay.
the sustain pedal needs to be pushed to stop that noise, and it's so annoying to always have to do this. And there's no workaround for this for people who have MIDI information recorded that includes the pedal, and you stop the playback in the middle of the pedal playing, and then you have to press the pedal manually, or else it'll go on forever, right?
So is my I have a sustain pedal for my Casio piano. Would that work for yours, or does it have to be a certain
Yeah,
sustain
yeah.
pedal
It's
that you
always
need?
it's the same. It's a binary value. It's like on, off,
Yeah.
on,
Do
off.
you need to borrow my my Casio?
Oh no, it's all right. Mine works. It's
Oh,
just no, it works perfectly great. Like
oh,
that's an
okay.
issue that everybody has.
Oh,
Like
sorry,
it's like a
misunderstood.
reality. It's a reality of it. Like look, if I play and then I stop, I stopped it, but it's still going. The sound is going forever until I press the pedal to say that on and off. Like now it's stuck on, and now I pressed it and it did on and off again. So because it was
Wow.
just talk on. That's just how it works. And you go inside the if you go inside the clip and you go down on the left here, there's the
Oh,
envelopes button, and then these are your envelopes, meaning things that you automated naturally, like mod wheel, pitch bend, volume changes, and
yeah.
anything that changes over time. And so you see there's a dot here next to MIDI control, meaning that we just we created an envelope when we recorded this in this section. And MIDI control means like, yeah, it was a MIDI information coming from the MIDI controllers I was using. You see the pitch bend was working at some point. The channel pressure was working and the modulation. And if we scroll down, there's also the hold pedal, and that's the one right here that controls my sustain pedal. And you can see when it's on 127, which is the maximum MIDI control change value. And then when it's off, it goes to 0. And every time I change a chord, I'm pressing the pedal down, and then I'm releasing it. And so when I'm pressing it down, actually this is when I'm releasing it, the 0. So I'm
Hmm.
releasing it quickly and I'm pressing it down again, and it stays down until I press on my next chord, when I release the pedal so that it cancels all the notes of the previous chord. And then once I've played the new chord, I press it down again to make it sustain. I don't think
Yeah.
there's a clearer way to describe this. So there you go.
Yeah. Rock and roll.
Now I'm gonna align the chords, the notes of the chords in the grid here. So we're gonna make it a loop that is on time. So we'll see how that goes. I'm gonna turn on the metronome. The pedal is really annoying at this point. You know what I'm gonna do? I don't need the pedal, so I'm gonna delete all this info. I'm gonna delete it all, or just put a 0 so that it's never gonna accidentally be on. Because right now it's gonna be really annoying if every time I'm gonna have to press the pedal, and I don't want to do that. So here I can select legato. This button is gonna make all the notes. Supposedly it's gonna make all the notes as long as they can be before before the next note plays, but it doesn't always work. Look at that. Here, this one, oh, it stopped so that this note can be played, but I wanted them to happen together. So I just need to move this one here. So this is where it gets a bit tricky, and you need a little bit of experience to work with MIDI. But the basics are, you can select things, you can move things around to the right places in time, and things snap like when you move them. They snap, but they don't always do that. But it depends on your adaptive grid and whether you're selecting right now a grid or not. You can select a triplet grid by doing Command 3 here. If I do command, actually there's Command 1, Command 2, Command 3, and Command 4. Command 4 is for the grid to be on or off. I don't know if you can see that, but the grid kind of disappears, and now I can select from anywhere, and the note, I can move them anywhere. But then when I click on, I press on Command 4, now there's a snapping effect that happens because it's on and I can see the grid. And I can make that grid narrower or larger with Command 2. Command 2 makes it larger, so now the snapping happens on a larger interval. Like, look, that's really large, and then like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, Command 1 makes it more narrow, like this. And this also applies when I move it with my arrows. So here I'm moving it with my arrow and it's snapping. When it's off, I'm moving it, it's gonna slowly move it like in Photoshop, pixel by pixel, frame by frame. The smallest time.
Well, is it going by eighth notes whenever you're, or where can you see the preciseness? Is it eighth notes or quarter notes?
Exactly. So the preciseness, if you notice when I'm doing command 4, command 3, all these things, my options over here is by itself, clicking itself blue, because actually everything is here. You can see narrow grid is command 1, and I just talked about widen grid, triplet grid, snap to grid. But how much of it is, where you can see that, the only way you can tell, I guess, is by looking at the beats here. So this is 2. So, oh man. Okay, that was the last time it did it, I hope. Because it was still on from before I even, I don't know.
I follow.
I don't know what happened. Anyway.
You're all good, man.
So this note should be with it together. Okay, at this point I'm not happy anymore. I don't like this anymore. At this point, I decided that this is too complicated, and this is part of the process. I'm just gonna put this aside for now and commit to a loop of let's say 8. That's 8 beats. It's 8 bars. 1, 2, 3, 4. 3, 2, 3, 4. 4, 2, 3, 4, and then again 5. So that'll be a long enough loop to have some harmony.
Sure.
But let's see what I can come up with. The sound I think can also be a bit better for something, even though it's nice. Like it's. Let's see. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do these two chords. They're nice. I think, like you said, we're gonna change the rhythm, but it'll just be based on those two alternating chords between major and minor, making it, like balanced. And you have some sadness there, you have some hope, some happiness, some acceptance, and that's kind of
Yeah.
what Sam describes as his healing, like through his accident, was about learning to slow down
Hmm.
and not try to escape from your feelings, doing crazy sports and extreme activities. And yeah, I was trying to run away from my thoughts, but if I just sit still and I accept that good implies bad, and like you can't have just good without acknowledging the bad, and like getting stuck, which is what all anxiety is, getting stuck somewhere. Like you're stuck on a feeling. If you just let that feeling happen instead, you don't have to stay stuck. You can keep moving. And when we're afraid of we're just afraid, like afraid of jumping, for example, in the water. But once you're in the water, it's over. The fear was just before. It was an illusion. It wasn't real. Like once you
Yeah.
experience it, it was not at all. It's not at all as bad as your mind makes it to be. So giving him some minor to major will give him time to think about the good and the bad that he may be avoiding doing that, because it's one of the two. Sometimes we're holding ourselves back from something that's actually good. Like we're like we want to feel good, but somehow it doesn't feel right. We think we need more people on our side. But we actually did something amazing. We deserve like a congrats or like a celebration, but we keep it in and it doesn't happen, and it can express itself in other ways that in other unconscious ways. um but yeah, like that's getting psychological. All right,
Hmm. All good.
let's just try to record these two chords, and then we'll kind of change sounds and change rhythms and so forth. But this will be our background pad. It might be like a lower volume. It will be the thing that is like people don't notice, but it's important. It's behind
Yeah.
everything. That's my idea for it. So let's go. Nice. All right. Let's see. I did play with the pedal, but I don't want it. I'm gonna remove it. It's an instinct for me to play with the pedal, but because you can't really match. You can't really make it so that really like you release those notes all at the same time so that the next chord happens. Like that's why you use the pedal to sustain the notes, and it's easier to kind of manage timing with that. But virtually or programmatically, I can fix that using quantize and editing. So I'm gonna take all this stuff, make them manually match. I can also press on legato here, but see there, like it messed it up because this one note blocked. So what the legato does is that it's gonna make each note as long as it can be before another note happens. So these I wanted them to kind of go all and snap here, be at that length, but this damn note is making it so that it thinks that this is a chord change, so we need to stop the previous chord. It's not the end of the world. I can still go with that and then just do this. Did that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does to me. I'd be very curious. I think, it's one of the interesting things about this idea of creating an Ableton experience for others to learn from is the gaps between what people are seeing and how it works and where it makes sense and where we've got questions or where we don't have questions. It's always going to be different for every single person, right? But I mean, I think that's kind of an interesting question for the audience, right? Like, hey, where are people following along? Where are people not following along? For me, looking at the key roll and knowing that I can see the keys on the left hand side and I can see measure by measure what we're looking at, and I can see what chord is being played, and I can see that it's being played through this measure and it's being played through this measure, but then here it is. And as you were explaining, here's what messed it up. So far I'm tracking 100% on this piece. I mean, yeah, I follow.
Ah, cool. So yeah, low key, I just made our progression here. We just have it. It's ready to be decorated with other sounds and layers.
Yeah. Well, and I love the mention you gave earlier of this being the backdrop that you might not even hear as the main part of the music, but it kind of is that glue that binds it together, right? Where you've got these two chords going as a loop that you're from here, you're going to there. Where you are now, where you want to be. Where you are now, where you're going next. Where you've been, what's happening tomorrow, that kind of a thing. So I think that's pretty interesting. And then, yeah, I get curious on once those chords are in place as a loop, how are you going to, well, this is where I'm kind of curious to just watch you add some things. Are you going to delete that voice track? Was that your microphone?
You're right. Yeah. There you go. Let's see. I'm just gonna drop some loops. I'm not a huge drummer, but I can program good drums if I
no, I follow.
spend hours. But sometimes I just use loops as an inspiration, something to bring it up.
That's good to hear. I definitely would rely on using loops. One of my big questions I'll have for you when the timing is right is to talk about progressing through an entire song, and if you've got different drum loops happening, how do you as a producer make sure that from one loop to the next that they tie together properly, these transitions on the drums? That's something that I don't
layers
perfectly understand. Yeah, but anyway, keep going. I'm following along.
Layers is my answer, because if you cut from one drum, one audio to another audio, it's always gonna snap and be weird. But if there are things that are constant in between that are kind of carrying it, so that's why like we have a lot of shakers, tambourines, ambience. We record the reverb room, the texture, everything, so that when we change from a kick snare to something like but in between, behind that, you have that same texture, so there's a consistency. Another thing is ear candy noise. The noise is kind of texture that allows for a transition. So all of these things are ways to enhance the transition. And so I call them enhancers. Here I have a loop that might become something that enhances or might become a part. We don't know yet. We're just messing with audio. That's what we're doing. So the loop didn't match the tempo right, I feel. Let me see. Oh, actually it is. I see it. I hear that. Yeah, I like it. I think I can go with that for now.
I can dig it.
Oh, there's one with drum. It comes with...
Yeah, with the bass.
With the bass, let's try it. very unusual progression, very unusual chord progression. So I'm kind of jamming on top of it to get a feel of the melodic structure and possibilities, and it's definitely new, hence exciting for me. But we can think about it this way: we're shifting from a minor scale to a major scale, but it's not quite major because it has that note, which makes it like that's the seventh note of the scale. It should have been this one if it was
a flat seven. Is it a flat seven?
It's exactly. Let's make it the dominant. So it's a flat
like a
seven.
Mixolydian.
Exactly. So that Mixolydian jam.
What key is it in?
It's a B. Whoa, there's so much. Yes. Because I don't like, it's too cheesy when I'm just moving from that minor third to the minor, major third. Like, it's too much, too cheesy for me. I don't know if that's relatable, that's true, but that's for me. So instead I try to, so like I'm hitting another note on that second chord, which isn't that minor going to, it doesn't make it obvious that we're changing from minor to major, but you feel a change. So that's what I want to do. I want to like be subtle. Less is more in production. It's always more. See, that was not cool because that's, I don't want to hear that. These two notes, they're just, it's not cool. Yes, that's a better one. See, like. So I don't want to get too jazzy, but I think
I love it.
If we get a lead sound that is playing a cool melody, but like the track is 3 minutes, right? So I think it would be smart to put it into an arrangement because I want to know how much space I have to jam, because like I could jam for hours on this, but if I know like where, like how many times this repeats and when is it with the beat, when is it without the beat, this kind of stuff can help me be less anxious when I'm coming up with cool stuff that I don't know how it would fit. So
yeah, I follow exactly. You know, one of the ways that I've been able to tinker with structure on a track exactly is what you're explaining right now. I was just tinkering, but I was watching some tutorials on YouTube, and I ended up switching to session view. And it was pretty interesting because I had captured 7 or 8 different noodles, kind of noodling in the same key, noodling at the same tempo, noodling in the same scale. But I was playing something a little different each time. And so I had 6 or 7 of those. And then I hit record on the master track and switched to session view and just played a loop for 2 measures, right? And maybe, for example, you could have your your beat loop that you've got with the drums and your two chords, get that looping for the entire time. Just turn that loop on. But then on one of your other channels, for two measures, play your first capture of your jam and then play the next one and play the next one. Whenever I tinkered that way, all of a sudden I kind of got it, dude. It was pretty interesting. What it allowed me to do was it allowed me to say to myself exactly what you just said, which is, okay, I want two measures of this build up, and then boom, hit that next version of that um, of that track, right? Like hit the next loop for two measures, hit the next one for two measures, hit the next one for four measures, hit the next one for two measures, hit the next one for four measures, hit the next one for two. And all of a sudden,
Yeah.
by the time I got to the end of it, I stepped back and I had 2.5 minutes just from 5 or 6 loops. For people listening to this, and if you want to see that, you can check out the blog. I've been posting some of these, but I posted some screenshots of that one. I don't remember which one it was, but it was one of my Sunday guitar practices, and it was just loops, but it allowed me to do what Alex was just talking about, which is to say, okay, what's my structure of this song now that I've got some building blocks? That gives you that space to figure out where you're going to be able to go back and just improv and improv. For how long? Are we talking 4 measures, 8 measures, more? Totally fine if it's more, right? I loved what you were playing. You criticized it mildly as you wrapped it up. I don't think it was too jazzy at all. I thought it sounded pretty badass.
Okay. Cool. Good to know.
Yeah.
It's still all right that I didn't record it because I still remember it because I got my music theory in check.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I know what I was hitting. Now that I have a loop here, I can kind of think about this as a puzzle that I'm creating the colors that I'm creating the pieces, and then we're gonna put them together. Okay, that's how music works. There's so many ways things can go together. It was a lie that there's the perfect sound for the perfect layer, and no, just use your ears and EQ anything with anything else, and you will make it mix. It's like cooking. It's like it's better than cooking because you can redo, like you can undo things. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, all right, cool. All right, so let's add. Let's see, what do we have as an option for sounds here? Maybe should we go analog, or can we still stay in the realms of Omnisphere? I think we're gonna use Omnisphere. We're going for something organic that I can play to contrast the digital vibes of the pad. Maybe they have cool guitar sounds, I know. So nah. Remember our friend, the auto capture button?
Yes, I do remember that.
We're pressing it now. First thing first. And it recorded what I played. It did it in a piano sound though, which for a weird reason we didn't hear, yet it recorded everything I played, but in the wrong channel, and that was weird. Gotta tell you that. I gotta give it to you, Ableton. However, like, yeah, if I play it now, it's a piano. But but it's easy. I can just take that MIDI information now and drag it into my Omnisphere sound. So at the beginning it was just getting warmed up, I think.
Oh yeah, this is lightning sounds.
Like, looks like that wasn't the take that I just did. Too bad.
Well, I mean, I think some of it was there. I don't know. I thought it sounded pretty good.
Yeah,
And
that
I
was
like
a.
that. I like that instrument sound. I mean, I think definitely save what you've got in a sense, and definitely save what you've got in terms of that loop where you've got your two chords. You've now got a start on your drums for that initial loop. Um, I don't know if you want to try and use a few minutes to consider the flow of drums and what might change about the drums as you move to the next part, or not. But anyway, but I think what you've got is pretty damn good, and if you can save that instrument sound and capture something in that Mixolydian scale that you're playing, I mean you've got something starting. I kind of leap backwards maybe 10 minutes in time to what you were saying about how is the song going to flow. And right now what's the name of this view, like chronological view? What is this? Because session view is where you've got your different vertical stacks.
Like this, yeah.
What is this called?
This is session
Yeah.
view, and this is
That's
arrangement view.
Arrangement view, that was the word I was looking for. It's kind of interesting to just think about if we're aiming for a 3-minute-ish track, which is what we had said, we can see what 3 minutes looks like in arrangement view. And we can kind of almost plot it out, right? That we have this opening bit. One thing that's interesting is you mentioned this idea of pulling attention to the idea of slowing down and healing, which is kind of built in to the 2-chord juxtaposition that you've got. But a question I would have for you is there anything at the beginning of like a speed up to a crash followed by the rhythmic beat of healing, followed by what you've already got? So I don't know, is there a splash at the beginning that is the same scale? Slow, slow, fast, 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 crash, right? And then you're soaking into the 2 chords kind of almost like a heartbeat, right?
Oh, yeah.
Chord one, chord
Yeah.
two. I'm thinking out loud. Part of the reason that I'm thinking out loud about this is if we're looking at arrangement view and we know that we want a 3-minute song and we want to see it from beginning to end and we want to start to think about what those different pieces are. I like how Alex had kind of asked the question as a piano player, sort of, okay, how am I going to structure this song so that I can know where I'm going to have a chance to kind of go get lost in the playing a little bit and where I have to rein it back in to be a little bit more repetitive, right? Because you've got your repetitive 2 chords, you've got that happening for you. I think we've landed on something there. Keep in mind, we're trying to write a track in 4 sessions last week, this week, 2 more sessions. So you kind of have to make choices fast. I like the drums that you've picked out. I mean, shit, man, you're mighty close.
Yeah, I think we talked too much a little bit this time, but it was
Yeah, of course.
it's you know, it's an experience again.
That's us. Yeah.
We'll have to see how we're gonna be able to make this work. We did say though before this that maybe sometimes the parts will be longer, but we also did commit that this time it's gonna be each step we have to give it the time it deserves, and here the time is now running out for that. So for that part, so totally fine. Even though we know that there are gonna be more layers to this. There should be more sounds. It's not enough. Like we have the nylon guitar, we have the drums, we have a pad. We still need something extra, and we could mess with the drums and make it like evolve and automate and transition, which is the next session stuff. But as a homework for me, I think I'm gonna go live and finish this nylon guitar that I did, and that'll be like a session like by myself, just messing with this by myself and really getting in the zone and working for like an hour without any talking, which is what you do when you're working on your homework too, and what every people watching should be doing. You guys, you should work on your track. You should, like, if you've never done anything before, watch my last video again and follow the steps, get to that point, and then watch this video and get to this point, and then by yourself try to mess with things. If you get stuck, message me, like talk to somebody, like don't just quit, like you can do it, you know what I mean? So
I love it. Yeah, no, good things, man. Well, I mean, I think part of what you're hitting on is just because we're going to try and get the track done in 4 sessions or 4 weeks doesn't mean we can't put a lot of work into it in between each session. So I think, yeah, everything you just rattled off sounds absolutely perfect from where I'm sitting. A couple questions for you. Those chords that you're playing, are you saving this in the Dropbox where I can go look at that MIDI information to see the chords, or can you just tell me what chords they are? Is it just a B minor and a B major? No, it's something different.
It's a B minor going to, so it's switching scales. It's 2 chords, which are 2 scales different. There's a scale change every chord change. So it's switching between a B minor, Dorian B minor, I think. Yeah, which is the same as A major. So it's B minor and Dorian. So B Dorian to B Mixolydian, which they share the 7th note being a flat. Instead of being from dominant to minor 7th as chords. So it's a dominant 7th, minor 7th to dominant 7th, back to minor 7th. So many possibilities. I'm gonna have so much fun.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's beautiful, man. Good stuff. And I love what we're looking at tonight for sure. I'll be working on my little track a little bit as well, and I'll have to keep you posted on what happens there. Again, for folks watching, we're going to try to document some of the stuff on the blog. Alex and I will have to meet and chat a little bit. I've been posting my guitar practices, and then Alex has been live streaming quite a bit of different stuff. But as Alex said at the very beginning, I think it'll be interesting for us to look at for these sessions. How do we want to get consistent? The notes from what we've talked about and looked at tonight would make brilliant content on the blog where people could go back and look at a collaboration track between Alex and Adam and kind of go piece through. Oh, this is the blog that Alex is pulling up on the screen. So
Yeah, so that was your practice number 8 this
8 weeks. Yeah.
and you posted a picture here, which is nice, and nice recording of your guitar playing.
Oh man, well, yeah, we'll see. The track I'm working on is going to be, I think the pieces of mine. I love it that you mentioned all these different instruments and sounds. From on my part, for my first track, and the goal of having it ready by the end of February, it's obviously guitar focus. So that's my focus. I do want to figure out my chords behind the scenes. And obviously, I'm going to be looking at these chords you've messed with to sort of piggyback on that. And can I actually create something that would mesh potentially with it in one way or another? So that's an interesting question for me. But I might digress off of that. My point is chords, some guitar on top of those chords, a bass, or just some harmony back behind the scenes, and then a beat. The typical four tracks that you, as a guitarist, that I'm kind of thinking about. And I think for my first track, no need for me to try and go too far beyond all of that. I'll share more, Alex, whenever you and I meet next to kind of look at some of that. But what I'll be focused on is, can I follow in Alex's footsteps and get a palette of my track kind of started where I have some of that structure in place to then go do as Alex is saying, which is put on my headphones with my amp and my guitar and get lost a little bit in what I might tinker with. So we'll see where that goes.
Nice. So you said chords, guitar, beat, and what? What was the fourth?
I said like a bass, but what I mean by a
Yeah.
bass is, I mean, I'm willing very much in Ableton to take my pluck out on the keys some notes that might mesh well in a MIDI track. So I might, when I say a bass, I just kind of mean adding that one other sound. My point in mentioning those four pieces is that for my first track, I don't plan to go too far beyond that. I do dream of creating tracks that have so many other layers and so many other instruments and so many other sounds, but to get to the end of February and have something that is, somewhat shareable. Well, it's going to be shared no matter how bad it is, but we'll see.
All right. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Go for it.
We'll
yeah. I mean, what you did was you delivered exactly like what I asked for last time, and it's your way. It's as a guitarist, and like your style of producing is gonna be different than mine because I'm a keyboardist. I play the piano, so I'm in charge. I have the MIDI on my side, and you don't. Like you have to think about timing, getting it right, tempo. So many more constraints to the flow and melodies and creating. But there's the improvisation element and the rawness and the vulnerability of the instrument itself when you're playing on the guitar, which is extra from when you're playing the piano, so it's different. It's different. Now I'm learning guitar. I'm learning a lot of guitar, and that's also part of my achievements this week is I'm learning more. I'm improving. Everything is getting better on my guitar, and I want to start posting some more guitar flows on our project here, just like you are. I'm gonna try to incorporate that. I've been recording
Nice.
them live on my Instagram live, so
Yeah.
you can watch a lot of my performances on Instagram, and I post sometimes on my YouTube as well. But on YouTube, I like to post more things that are kind of high quality produced, rather than just putting on my live stream with no particular reason, just like jamming like that. But I'm also trying to create environments on YouTube where I can flow and be a long time, and I'm doing that too. It's called creative flows, and it's when I'm just free. I'm with my software, I have my keyboard, I can plug in whatever I want and say whatever I want, whatever. There's no constraint there. It's just to create, and that's kind of what I'm gonna be doing. I'm gonna be doing creative flow on our project during this week as my homework. So, and I'll do it live, and I'll layer stuff here, and I'll be free, and it'll be me, and then you can watch it live as I go, comment as a viewer, but you don't get to be and have my attention unless I want to read your comment, and I may acknowledge or not, but then later on when we meet again, that's when I can hear you and like get your input, and I'll be more receptive, and you can tell me what did you like and what we can work on it together, because it's like our track.
Love it.
Makes sense.
I love it. Man. Hell yeah, dude. Good session tonight. No, for sure. It's fun. And I think one of the things I had typed up at the very top of the Notion board was trust the process, right? From Seth Godin. And we had talked about Seth Godin in our first session, which made me smile. I'm a huge Seth Godin fan. And so for session 2, yeah, we're trusting the process. We're moving through it one session at a time, which is pretty awesome, man. So thank you so much, Alex. Good stuff tonight. And we'll be in touch. And for everybody watching, we'll look forward to seeing you next week.
Onward.
Onward. Take care, man.
All right, bye.
Bye.
So yeah, thank you everybody for watching. This was oh, of course. My microphone went off. Okay, so this was an Ableton experience with Alex and Adam. Part 2, episode 2. Thank you for watching, and take action. Please take action. If you're inspired, do it. Stop watching this. Just exit and go and do it. But yeah, if you wanna one-on-one with me, just hit me up. I give one-on-one. I'm still kind of establishing the places where you can book me easily, because like it gets really busy and my schedule is all over the place. But I'm available. Like if you reach out by email, boulosalexandre@gmail.com, or on my Insta DM, Alex Boulos, or wherever you can. And yeah, we can work together. I can help you finish your tracks if you're stuck. I work fast, and yeah, it's something I'm trying to do full time. Trying to be full time available for my craft, my passion, helping others along their way. And so that's it.